Hello everyone and welcome to Friday Live. My name is Ashley Renee. I'm a mixed media artist and today of course we've got lovely Renee Warwick on with us. And so welcome Renee, lovely to have you back again. It's super cool. So Renee and I were just having a chat before and we were saying that we're really looking forward to rocking it out again together today. And we had so much fun last week starting the birdhouse, didn't we, Renee?
We certainly did.
So we're going to rock it again this week. Renee is just going to show us so many wonderful tips and tricks for progressing the birdhouse using moulds and all sorts of things. I won't steal her thunder. I'll let her explain exactly what she's going to do. But yeah, we were saying, oh, we're rocking it out. We sound a bit like a rock band. And we sort of thought, oh, we should have a band name. So if anyone out there, if any of you have a good band name, a chick name that Renee and I can have for when we're getting together, that would be awesome. We'd love to hear your feedback on that. We just thought it would be a bit of fun.
Definitely.
So Renee, over to you, and it is looking wonderful. So if you did miss last week's episode, of course you can watch it again in replay, and that way you can see how she got up to the point where we're at today. So let's get started.
Thanks, Ashley, and hi everyone out there. Anyway, we've been very busy over the weekend. Taking the birdhouse to the next level for you. So today, like Ashley said, we're going to create some form on the roof via making it a corrugated iron roof. And then we're going to show you what I've done on the walls since we last were live, and also how to assemble the back piece. So because the back piece is in two pieces, and there's another little tricky bit that goes on the front that holds it then all together. So I'm going to show you how this all comes about. So we've got a little bit of a secret reveal happening here, which is a little bit exciting. So what I've done here on the walls, I've been very busy. So on all the parts to make sure, remember we spoke about if you get Powertex in all these little joins, how the pieces won't go together. And we showed you that it was all stuck up with Powertex and our little tabs wouldn't go into their little notches. So what I've done over the weekend, I have gone to every single little nook and every tab, and I have come up here with my X-Acto knife. Some of you might call them surgical knives, but I've just used this X-Acto knife to just come in and remove that excess Powertex away. And then I've also had to come along on some of the tabs that go into the holes because I couldn't get into these little side pieces here. I've had to reduce the size of the tabs just slightly, just shave a tiny bit of the wood off on the sides there.
That's awesome, Renee. I'll bet that was a bit fiddly.
Just a little bit. Now, if we'd picked up on it sooner, before the Powertex had hardened as much as what this one had, we could have just slightly heated it with a hairdryer and then come in with the knife, and it would have just easily removed in all those little nooks and crannies there. But because this had been hardened for quite some time, as we know that that's what Powertex is meant to do, it was a little bit harder to remove those surface areas. But anyway, we got there. That's awesome. All that matters.
And Carol from Ladybird Creations is on watching, so welcome.
Hi, Carol.
And to everyone else that's watching, it'd be lovely if you drop in and say hi and let us know where you're from. It's wonderful. And don't forget band name suggestions for Renee and I.
Oh, yes. So, as you remember, here on the side walls, we created some interest when you peek through the little hole on the front of the house here. And what I have done since we were live is I have now come across and I have put decoupage paper on the front, and I've used a stencil. So using exactly the same techniques as what we did on the inside walls, I've now put that on the outside walls as well, just using some different stencils. So I came across and I've used this one of Cobwebs Craft Studios, which is 6A, and that is the lovely tree stencil.
I love that one, Renee.
Isn't it gorgeous?
It's one of my favourites.
So again, to get the colour all into our structure there, exactly what we did last week, I've mixed the structure paste along with some colours of our power colour. Then I've come back with some Easy Coat Glossy and some Rich Gold, and I've just gone with a palette knife in through those areas as well. So I've made it into more of a paste, and then just come in with the palette knife over the top just to give those tree areas and around the leaves and that some definition. So it gives that a little bit of interest.
That looks gorgeous.
Thank you. So that's one side done. And we'll show you the other side. So here, I love how this side's come up too. So this is using, again, Cobwebs Craft Studios stencil, which is 33A, which is the iron. Now, this is my go-to favourite. As you can see, it's been well used. I do clean it after every use, but sadly, some product does stay on there, but they're so easy to clean. And all of our products, as you know, are acrylics based, so it all washes out in warm soapy water. So, and exactly the same technique. So structure paste with the turquoise and a little bit of white, and then use that through the stencil, again with the Rich Gold and the Easy Coat Varnish into a paste, and just come over some of the surface areas. Now, I've waited for that structure paste to dry before I've come back. So I've washed my stencil, and then once the structure paste was dry, you can use a heat gun to make your drying time speed up, or just wait for it to dry. It doesn't take very long in the heat that we have still. And then placed it back over into that area, and with the palette knife just came slightly in. So as you can see, I haven't covered all the surface, just some little highlights here and there.
I love the contrast between the orange and the turquoise. That just looks absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
I do love that colour combination. It's just beautiful.
Oh, it's one of my favourites, as you know, Ashley. So
the roses peeking through from underneath are really nice too.
Are they? They are on that page there. So that was actually the same page on both those pieces there, but it's the reverse. So Stamperia do beautiful papers, as we spoke about last week, and you can use the reverse sides on all the pages. So same page, but just the reverse.
Awesome. Robin's also on with us. So Robin's always on Friday Live. So lovely to see you, Robin, and welcome.
Now, for the front. So on the front here, are we ready? Oh, I wonder if you can work out what stencil I've used on this one. I did say it's my favourite. And also the colour combination. So again, that's right. We've used the 33A, the Cobwebs Craft Studios stencil, the iron. And I'm going to today show you how to mould up and make this area around the front of the birdhouse nice and pretty with some moulds and stone art clay. So that's our front of the house now done.
And of course, Renee, all those beautiful cobweb stencils, they're all available as well from any Powertex trainers and from Bag End Studios in Queensland, and also, of course, Powertex Australia.
That's it, yes. Plenty of suppliers around. They're wonderful to use. Now, the other thing I've done is I've put together the little porch for the birdhouse. So to hide some of the little joins there, I've come across, now all of you have probably got in your craft stash these stick-on little beads. Now, everyone thinks Powertex and plastic doesn't go. Well, I'm here to tell you it does. So there are some certain little tricks you can do. So I have placed a little bit of PVA glue over the top of these to just make it the surface area not quite so shiny. And then I'll come back over with the bronze Powertex and bronze this all up, and then we'll colour it up with some colour tricks. So that'll dress the porch up very nice, and that will go into our little slots here. You see the two slots, and that will go in there. But we won't attach that just quite yet. I just had that ready for today. So we'll place that aside for one
That
moment.
texture's going to look gorgeous.
It certainly will. It'll look like some little iron rivets going on there.
Carol's just saying she thinks it looks lovely, Renee.
Oh, thank you, Carol. Lovely to have your support. Now, when you get your bird kit, you'll notice the back piece, and you have these funny little, I don't know, they look like baby nappies, don't they? Little knickers or something there. So the small piece goes down first to your back piece, and it sits there. And this is just to increase your surface area for your birdhouse. And then this piece comes over the top and sticks in place there. Now, a little trick I will be doing is I'm going to put a tiny bit of Powertex in there with a tiny bit of stone art clay, hold that in place, and then put a bit of masking tape on, and then Powertex over the top of the masking tape.
Nice.
So that will give it a nice solid, and as we know, stone art clay, once that's dry, that will be permanent. And then we'll, I nearly showed too soon. Then we'll put this over the top, and we'll Powertex this and place that on. Now, what I have done to make it pretty for underneath the bird cage is, again, I have come across, I've decoupaged using our Easy Coat. I actually use Easy Coat matte on this one, and I've cut it down to size. Sandpaper on a block, and you can sandpaper it. Or who has one of these at home? Well, this is what I use. And this is your, like to in the shower to clean your heels. I don't use it for that. I come along my edge here.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And just clean my edge up. And you'll see, because I've let this dry a little bit, it's the paper's a little bit harder to remove. But the paper will come away and leave you with a clean edge along there.
That's fantastic, Renee.
So you can see along there now. Oops, I'm sorry about the noise if that's too close
What
to the
on
mic.
earth made you use that for the first time?
Well, when I've been going to some of the classes, the mixed media classes I've been going to with papercraft, that's actually what they use. There's different tools out there. Tim Holtz has some, but look, use what you've got at home. So if you already have sandpaper and a block, which I'm sure people paint their houses, just use that. But I had that there. I saw Farrell using something similar, and I went, I've got one of those in the cupboard, something similar. Hers is got like more of a metal surface on it, whereas this had like the sandpaper, and I thought that's just going to do the same thing.
Perfect.
So, but as you can see on this piece here, again, to marry in, I've used the my favourite stencil. Now, I have used something a little bit different. This isn't a Powertex product on top here. And if I hold that a little bit closer, you'll see that the paste I've used has all crackled. So this is a special gold crackle paste, and it's also one of my favourites. So, but it's not in the Powertex range, but it is absolutely beautiful to use. So it's just showing you, if you've got anything in your house, it's, especially if it's acrylic based, use it with your Powertex. Give it a go. Experiment. Nothing's wrong. And if you don't like it, the beauty of Powertex, as Ashley always keeps telling us, paint back over it and start again. It's great.
Exactly.
So that's how the base piece will look when we stick that down. And then we spoke a little bit, and we did this background here on the day. So I haven't done too much more other than add a little bit of this Crackle paste just with a palette knife, just freehanding it on. And then what I've done to my little clock, and you'll remember that I'd cut the clock out on the day, because when I place that down, I want to put some leaves and a couple of flowers in around there. I needed that up a little bit. So I've built the back up. So you can see I've just used some wood bits that I had at home. You can use cardboard bits. Nothing's wrong, just so long as you can elevate. You can also use a blob of stone art clay with a bit of wet Powertex underneath and also stick that down. But I wanted a more stable surface, so that's why I've gone and used a more solid structure on the back there, because it's the paper. Now, I have also treated the paper there with transparent, and I've gone around the edges with a blade. Now you can use just your scissors. There are special distressing tools, and I have just gone and distressed the edge of this clock slightly. So it just makes it look a little bit more antique. And we're going to place that there, and we're going to do some moulding today and put some flowers and bits and pieces around that.
Sounds awesome. Very exciting.
And then you'll see down here we have the roof. So I've laid it all out how the pieces would actually be going together. Now with the roof, when you unpack your kit, it's a good idea to actually lay out exactly what I've done here so you understand how your pieces are going to go together. So that's one of my big tips to do. Now with the roof, I'll hold this a little bit closer to the camera. You can see at these ends here, there's a short end and there's a long end. So the short end is going to come up and over and be, this is towards the front of the house, and the big piece goes towards the back. So it'll slot in like so and come up. Now the other thing to notice about the roof is one piece is longer than the other. So this one's just a fraction longer, and that will nestle and sit on top. So this piece will be your piece that you stick once your roof is ready to go on. The shorter piece will be the one that goes on first, and then you'll put this one over the top. Now if you put that on first, it just makes it a little bit more tricky doing your joins. It's still possible, but just have a play with your kits and get a feel for how they go together. You can even do some things like some masking tape while you haven't treated any of the surfaces, and put it all together so you understand how it all goes together, and then lay it all back down, and then you'll just start working on each of your surfaces. And if it helps by putting it back in that layout, so then when it comes time to put it together, it will simplify things for you.
Awesome. And of course, Renee, as well, the instructions, there's actually a link in the description so that people can actually go there and you can download your instructions as well. But of course, those tips are just such hot tips, Renee. So thanks for sharing.
Thank you. My pleasure. Always happy to share. And the other thing we'll do quickly today is we're going to, on the roof, I've already sort of cut to size some bits of corrugated cardboard. So, that will go on the other one. So I've just mixed them up a little bit. That's all right. Maybe I did mix them all totally up. That's all right. We'll work it out. So we'll just pop one on there like so on the top, and we're going to use bronze Powertex to stick that down with. And so we'll do that in a moment. And you'll see for the roof, the other piece you have are these beautiful little eaves to put underneath. That doesn't show up very well there. So that lovely little eave. And it matches in with the little patio at the front of the birdhouse as well. So these are very simple to pop on, and they just go onto your edge. Oops.
I've got to say, Renee, that is one of my favourite things about this kit is that there are some beautiful elements that are really decorative and just gorgeous. So I love the little welcome sign as well that goes on the edge.
We'll pop that in afterwards, I'm sure. Yeah, I've got one of them's shorter and longer, so we'll figure that one out when we get to it. And I may not have, I can see, I actually haven't come in and removed the Powertex, so I think that's what's holding up and not allowing us to pop it in. So I can see some little bubbles there. And yes, so they're two pieces that I've missed. All good though, it's easily fixed. Nothing's too drastic there. So what we might do, we might start working on the mould, and we'll put some leaves and flowers around here, and we'll put something pretty on.
Nice.
So I'll just pop those up there out of the way just for the moment.
It's going to look awesome when it's assembled and you've finished everything. What would be excellent, Renee, would be maybe once it's all finished, we could get you back on again in a few weeks and you could show us. And I do know as well that you're actually going to write a blog on this too on your new website.
That's it, yes.
So that's exciting. So
We will. We'll get that all done. And yeah, so it should come up really nice. So I'm going to use a couple of moulds here today. So we've got this lovely mould here from, again, Stamperia. So this one has lovely little roses and leaves and flowers, and I thought that would be very fitting to put in and around, especially the paper pack that I've chosen to use. So we've got that one there, and this one is my all-time favourite as well, because you get such a beautiful arrangement of leaves and ferns. So this is from their Amazonia pack, and this little mould is just beautiful. And the beauty of using the stone art clay in it, it's an air dry clay, as we all know, is while it's still soft, we can then manipulate and fold and move things around and also give it a more 3D dimension. You can let it harden and still go back and stick them on, Ash, but today we're going to use them in the wet form.
Lovely, very exciting.
Yes, I hope so.
I'm sure everyone watching is excited, so let us know. And of course, if you do have any questions along the way, make sure you're asking them as we are showing you, and you've got Renee here to answer you live.
Definitely. More than happy to answer any questions. Now, the first thing I do with my moulds is I have a delegated brush, and I just have a little container with a little smidge of oil in it. And there's truly the tiniest bit of oil. It's not dripping with oil. And you just come in your moulds, and it acts as a bit of a mould release. I just use a cheap cooking oil, nothing special, nothing expensive. Don't use spray oils. The spray oils leave a terrible residue in there, and they're very hard to wash out. You can wash this with warm soapy water afterwards and still use resin in it, and it won't affect the resin. So, and I've done that many a time, so I can hold my hand on my heart, so long as you wash them properly. If you do leave a residue in it, it will send the
resin into...
Oh, yeah, it goes into a bit of a shock mould. My one turned foamy. So I since learnt, yes, wash your moulds very well. So I'll do the same to the flower mould.
And it just makes it so much easier to get the stone art out, doesn't it?
Oh,
Renee?
it certainly does. It makes a huge difference. If you don't do this, your clay will stick in there. And look, if that does happen, just wait till the clay dries. And these moulds are like little quick release moulds, so they'll pop out once they're dry. But if you try doing it when it's wet, the clay will get all stuck in and around these, actually in the mould. So you'll have to get a little bit of a brush in warm soapy water to get it all out.
I can't wait to see how they turn out. So excited.
Yes. So I'm going to use ivory clay. So I've mixed it up using ivory Powertex and stone art clay in a 50-50 mix. And so I have some here ready. And for the remainder of the house, I'll be using it with the bronze Powertex. But I thought using in the background here and going for white or a more ivory look will be more fitting for the inside of the house, and especially if you're going to be putting lights in there. So it'll help, pick up and reflect lights. So I haven't drilled any holes or done anything about lights at this stage, but that may come later.
I do love how you incorporate lights into your work, Renee. I remember the first time you did it, it was like, oh, that's really gorgeous.
I fell in love, didn't I?
You've been doing it ever since, I think.
I think so. I was going to put gloves on, I won't worry about it. So we'll pick out a couple of the little flowers here.
Was it the fairy tree? We did it for the first time.
Oh, the fairy tree was the first one, and that was a big job. I lost count of how many metres of lights I put onto that.
It looked amazing though, didn't it?
Thank you, yes. Yeah, we had a lot of fun, Sue, Heather and I.
So that was a project, of course, that we did for one of the craft shows, and you girls all got together and did that, and it was amazing.
We had a lot of fun having our get-togethers and just sitting in the office here creating and carving, and yes, some things didn't make it, but other things did it. It was good. We had a lot of fun. So,
and lots of contributions from everyone, which was really fabulous.
That's it, yes. We had lots of our Powertex artists contribute and make pieces to actually go in the tree too. So we made sure there were all little nooks and crannies and crevices that either fairies could hang off or owls could hide in. And
I loved your viney mushroom fungal
yes,
pieces. They were amazing. They were so decorative, but at the same time really, really interesting surfaces and forms.
And that was all made out of stone art clay and some wire. They were very easy.
So how are we going with those moulds, Renee?
Okay, so
flowers?
We're doing flowers, and I might pop some leaves in at the same time here. And I'm going to use the leaves out of this mould that I've already got out.
So why do you like using the ivory Powertex for the stone art clay? Just
I like using all the colours really, but I just thought for the background here I can get more of a because I'm using the whiter vintage papers. And then I thought on the outside of the house, because we've already got the bronze colour and we've used more of an antique bronze look on the outside, I'll use the bronze stone art clay on the outside of the house, and we'll colour those up.
It's going to look gorgeous because it's going to look so subtle with the ivory shapes. And then what will you use to colour them?
Of course, our Easy Coat varnish, and also a mixture of our power colours and colour tricks.
Beautiful.
So just dry brushing those on. So we'll just pop these out. So I'm going to pop there. And as you can see, because we've put that release on, that's come straight out. Now, if you've got any messy areas there, you can come along with any of your tools and just do a little push, a little clean up your little areas. And this is all paying attention to detail. So you could leave it there, it wouldn't matter, but I don't. I come along and I clean up all my little areas there. And because we're using ivory, and also because the paper is white, I'm not going to use a dark stoner Powertex colour. I'm going for transparent to stick our work down with today. Perfect. So we can then lay our little flowers and leaves in around this area here. So I'll get a little leaf pattern out as well. So we may not use all these ones I've moulded, but we'll use them in something. It could go on the outside of the house as well.
So, of course, Renee, for those people who haven't used stone art before, stone art is one of my favourite products, and I know you love it too. So it basically is an air-dried clay, and like you can see how Renee is working with it, it's just so instant, and that is just one of the best things about it, isn't it?
Oh, it certainly is. It certainly is. And like we can layer up, so you can put a you know, like the leaves down, you can come back over now with your rose. And so long as you've got wet Powertex underneath and another layer of wet Powertex, that will then stay in place. Like I said, we can do things like, because we've moulded this and the stone art is still pliable, we can place this down and we can start getting a more three-dimensional and putting things up and over your areas there like that.
Fantastic. And like you say, that's where it's brilliant that you can actually shape it a little bit, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. So this is why I love using it, and certainly while it's still...
So also, if you've never used stone art clay before and you want to learn how to mix it, there is a video that I've done on YouTube on how to mix the stone art clay, which is super, super useful. So you need to check that one out, and you can make up the clay in any of the Powertex colours, which is fantastic. So red, yellow, blue, whatever you like.
Now, like I said, I'm going to use some transparent Powertex here to stick our pieces down. So just paint onto the back of your area, and so long as that's all wet with Powertex, this will stick down and it won't move once it's dried. So we'll place our little piece down there. And I did like those leaves coming up and over the clock, so I'm going to have to make a decision to stick my clock down at this point. So I'm going to use some stone art clay on this because it will make that definitely a permanent structure. the last thing we want happening in the birdhouse is that we pop it outside and it falls off. So we don't want that to happen.
It's also useful for a bit of an instant stick, isn't it?
Oh, it certainly
So
is, yeah.
instead of having to wait for that Powertex to dry, it just gives you that really instant.
So you can see there, I've just painted some wet Powertex down, put a blob of stone art clay on, and now I'll come back over with some more wet Powertex, and then we'll put our little clock into position and press that into place there.
Beautiful.
Okay, and within an hour that you will find quite some difficulty trying to move that. So that's how instant it will be. We'll come across with our leaves quickly. And we'll pop these down here. And I'm trying to follow a bit of the pattern here of what's happening with the papers.
So if you want to see more of what Renee does, of course, Renee, you're on Facebook, which is wonderful. So
Yes.
Renwa's Funky Designs on Facebook, and also your new website. So I'll make sure that I put a link in the description so that people can find your new website. So if they would like to follow your blog, they can do that.
Oh, thank you. So I'll get this little leaf down, I think, and we might. And this is where you'll just play around a little bit until you're happy with what you're doing and where things are placed. And we might come in with another little flower into there.
I think everyone's totally absorbed in what you're doing because we haven't got any questions. So I think you're answering them all along the way.
Oh, very good. I'm hoping that I'm helping you all.
Robin says it's looking really cool.
Oh, thank you, Robert. Appreciate that. And then we might want to do I think we'll just leave it at that in the background there. So we'll pop that one over. We'll put our brush into some water. Just remember, we don't want our brushes to become pieces of art. We don't want them hardened just at this stage. So now what I can do is come back over and colour these flowers, which I'll need to do before I stick the whole house back together. So we will put some colour back into those, but that will probably be off camera. And that will be basically just using like our Easy Coat Glossy and coming in with a mixture of our power colours and colour tricks to really bling it up and give it some sparkle, some razzle dazzle in there. Now, I love collecting, and many of you will be getting this wonderful thing in your packaging these days. So bubble wrap's a thing of the past, people. We're all getting this. Now, what I like to do at home is pre-Powertex things up. So I've got things like muslin already pre-Powertexed and hardened in my cupboards. I've got this waffle packaging. And I'm thinking that, you know, some pieces like that, torn and ripped and added into some areas, can add some nice little textural interests as well. So, you know, all we need to do, and when I coloured the Powertex itself was too heavy in its natural form out of the bottle. So I've used a wet brush, popped it into my Powertex and then painted it onto the surface carefully. So paper works a little bit differently to your fabrics, but you can certainly manipulate and get what you'd like or things that you'd like to happen with it. So
you like pre-painting that waffle paper because it holds its form better, and then you can play with the harder form instead of it being flat.
Yes, definitely.
Perfect. Great tip, Renee.
Yeah, and exactly that. It holds its form then, so it's not flat on the surface. I'm actually going to lift that.
I've got to say, I'm a bit like you. I love that paper as well. It was the best discovery. Just makes really gorgeous animal skins and textures.
Oh, you're not wrong. So I'm going to pop that there. Now, it might need a tiny bit of stone art clay, and that's fine because that's what the clay's there for as well. So it helps us keep things in place. Because I'm seeing that's a little bit too loose there. So we shall pop that down, pop a little bit more.
Bit more Powertex on there.
That's it. And we'll just use a tool and actually press it into that stone art clay. And then for my flower, because I noticed that was even a little bit wobbly on there, is I'm going to come back with a little bit more stone art clay as well. So these are all things just trial and error as you go along. Pop that down, and then we can come across, just re-wet that on the back. And it's all about trying to give your work a little bit of dimension, some interest. There we go. Thank you.
And lovely, of course, over that will dry as hard as a rock. That
Yes.
is one of the things with the Powertex. Even if it doesn't have that really instant stick, it will really dry very, very strong.
So that's just giving you a little bit of an idea. There's some of the things that I did inside the house.
Beautiful.
And you can see it's just something very simple, but it certainly added some interest. So when you go to look through our little peephole, you'll have a little magical wonderland happening inside. Now, the other thing I did to my base, I've just added a little bit of the gold. So this will be the base of the house. And I have in my little stash, and I know Powertex has these as well, is these cute little bird nests. So we're going to, once we put our walls on, just come back in and place our little birdie nest inside the house, and we'll pop some little eggs in there. So there's some eggs that come in the little satchels as well, and some and a cute little bird as well. So I'm going to pop the bird on the outside, but Cobwebs Craft Studio in the kit that Powertex sells are some beautiful elements as well. But on the inside, I'm not going to use those elements. We'll use a lot of those elements on the outside of the house.
Beautiful.
So we've got feathers and flowers and birds and leaves. There's lots of things to choose from.
It's a lot of fun playing with the kits, isn't it?
Oh, it certainly is. It certainly is.
And like you say, you can just layer them up and get as creative as you like.
Absolutely. So what we might do now is I might attach this base quickly while we've got that in place, and then we've done that and that can sit to one side. How are we going there, Ashley? Anyone asking any questions?
I'm just looking and Carol's just saying, oh, how cute are the birds' nests?
Yes. So I'm going to use some of the bronze Powertex and bronze stone art.
So Robin's just asking where the moulds were from. So they're from Stamperia, of course, and Cobwebs Craft Studio and Bag End Studio have those Stamperia moulds in stock.
Yeah, you can purchase them online from their websites. We can pop up the code numbers if you want it afterwards. I can pop those online so you can see the ones that I've used. But there's just so many to choose from. What I might do when I get home is take a photograph of my wall of moulds
and put it on your blog
and just show you how addictive these moulds are. I think I'm out of control, but anyway, I enjoy them. That's all that matters. So now I'm going to go along my edge here and I'm going to put a little bit of wet Powertex. And I'm going to place some stone art clay along here. I'm going to roll that a little bit more into a bit more of a little log. And this is going to help and make sure that this piece doesn't come apart. So we'll just come along, place it all along there. I mean, you don't have to do it this way. This is what I've found works for me. you might find another way, and if you do, please share it with us. We're always up for ideas and suggestions on the Powertex Creative Hub, so we're all happy to chat and share. So I haven't gone all the way along, but it'll be enough on there. So we'll come paint
Just
that.
hold that up closer to the camera, Renee, so that people can see.
We can see we've put some blobs of stone art clay along there. And then we're just going to come along this edge of this house here as well and make sure that there's wet Powertex, because remember, wet Powertex sticks to wet Powertex. And we're going to give this a really good push.
So if there's ever any elements that need joined together, this is the perfect way to actually make them really, really strong, isn't it?
It certainly is, yes. So, and we'll just grab our little tool here and we'll just wipe away the excess stone art that's come out. And that's good because we know it's definitely embedded in there. Now we need to just let this lie flat. We don't want it doing too much more. The other thing we can do is stick down our large piece as well. Just put that a little bit there. So I'm just going to pick up our piece here and stick that over the top here. Like so. So we're going to use some wet Powertex again.
That'll make that join very, very strong.
Absolutely. And I just love all the attention to detail when Charmaine's designed these kits, you know. They're just so beautiful, aren't they, Ash?
Absolutely.
You know, she's thought of like little porches for the birds and these beautiful little details underneath that make it just look so unique and so lovely. So we'll paint that over the top as well. And we shall now place that down. Now, if I was at home, I'd be using some clips, some clamps to hold that down in place. But that shouldn't move too much, I don't think. We might put that on top as a weight. So we just need that to stay in place now. So we'll move this up there. So you can see now that that's all attached and we just need that to dry. So keep it on a flat surface. If you are at home, you can use things like bulldog clips and hold that together so it'll give it a really, make sure it's nice and firm. If you've got a nice heavy tin, put that on top of that to give it some weight so it definitely holds down and sticks into place. I'll just clean my surface here. So that's joining our base of the birdhouse. And what we might do now, Ashley, is pop our corrugated pieces together.
Fabulous.
So I'll just clean this up. There we go. So we've got our pieces. Now remember, we need to, this is the front of the house where the lines are, and this will be going to the top. And so we need 2 tops. That's right. So the last thing you want to do is have them back to front. So we're not going to do that. And that was to that side of the birdhouse, and that was to that side. So we need to do those like that. Okay, cool. So just a little bit of thinking about what you're going to do and how you're going to place them down. So like I said, I've already ripped and torn the corrugated cardboard a bit. And the corrugated cardboard's so lovely to use and gives such a beautiful effect, especially when you want something to make look like rusty iron with our pigments and everything that we use, red ochre, mocha, titanium white with your turquoise, just gives such a beautiful finish, and you can honestly make it look so rusty. The other products that you can use is our the Rust Effects.
Yeah, the rusty powder is beautiful. So again, if you want to have a go of the rusty powder, there's another video on YouTube on how to use that as well. So try and make everything as easy as possible for you to know how to use these wonderful products. So the Powertex products just give you so much scope and possibility for your artwork.
Oh, absolutely. Now I'm just going to paint the back of the corrugated cardboard, Ashley, and also the top of the roof. So we've got 2 surfaces of Powertex to stick together. That will increase your bonding. So we'll get the other done quickly as well. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm not going to get Powertex down in the joints, but I am going to come across the top. And this is a way that we can hide our joins. Now this is also going to hide this join here once the birdhouse is joined together, and it will hide the joins for the little pieces that come underneath the roof. So it's just a clever little way to hide some of your joins. So you could use paper, you could come across with your moulds, you can use stencils over the top. I'd love to see what all of you come up with your designs.
Yeah, so of course they can post them in the Powertex Australia Creative Hub. So all the Birdhouse kits and the Cobwebs Craft Studio stencils, you can get them, of course, from Cobwebs, also from Bag End, Powertex Australia, trainers around Australia near you. So, yeah, wonderful to have a play with.
Definitely. So when you're coming with your corrugated cardboard and you can see any of your edges, get your brush and paint all up in underneath there. And then just paint a nice coat all over the top of your cardboard. Now you can do things like you can rip up your edges and curl some of them to make it look like it is a bit of a beaten, weather-worn roof. So we can do things like, tear some things up, and which we will do. It's easier to do once it's a little bit more, has the Powertex on it.
I love using paper and Powertex.
It certainly is a good marriage there.
And so, of course, for the scrapbookers, for people who are scrapbooking, Renee, what would you say the biggest benefit is of the Powertex with paper?
Look, it makes it gives you a lovely cover. Depending what it is that you're going to be doing. So especially if you're making a mixed media piece to go on a canvas, an altered canvas, altered clocks, all those things that are around at the moment that are so popular out there in the papercraft world, this certainly gives it such a beautiful coat and it will last forever. So
I think for me, one of the things is that it is weather resistant.
Yes.
And so it's actually sealing off the paper as well. So it's making it more waterproof so that, like you say, it is going to last a long, long time. So you go to all the effort of making it. So you want these things to last really, really well, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Because it truly, all of us know we spend so many hours on our beautiful creations. The last thing you want to happen is a bit of weather around, or could even be your little grandchildren come along and knock it over, and and at least if it's been hardened and protected with the Powertex, it just gives it that extra layer of protection. It's wonderful.
When I had my little dog Gnarly, she used to come into the studio, didn't she, Renee?
Oh,
wagging
she did. Her tail,
and
yes.
she'd knock everything over.
She did.
So Robin's just saying that she hopes that I had a nice weekend away. So thank you, Robin. I had a lot of fun in beautiful Beverly and just being immersed in nature and just doing some plein air painting for fun, which was wonderful.
Yes, I saw some of your pictures that you put up, Ashley. It looked very peaceful where you were.
Oh, it was just gorgeous. I went down to the river really early in the morning and it was just so beautiful. The reflections on the water were just stunning.
There we go. So we'll just put that aside to dry for the moment.
And so you're just going to repeat the process on the other
Repeat
side?
the process, yes. And what I might do on this one is already see if I can lift some areas. Maybe not. It doesn't want to come apart, this one, so easily. So if you can't find corrugated cardboard, there's a very easy solution out there. Most boxes are corrugated cardboard, so you can actually dampen them slightly and tear the top layer off, and underneath you'll find this lovely layer of the corrugated cardboard.
And it's nice, isn't it? Because it's got a thicker corrugation as well. So depending on the cardboards, they're all different. So, which is fun.
Certainly is. Okay, so we'll paint that there.
So keep an eye out for packaging, because you'll be amazed what some of the packaging stashes are like.
Oh, yes.
One of my favourites is the honeycomb packaging that you get as well, which is just gorgeous.
And that's also on the inside of air conditioning units. So if you happen to replace your pads, leave them out, the old ones out to dry, and you can use that in your Powertex as well. No, I don't. That's over here in WA, because we have the water. What are those aircons called, Ash? Oh, yes. Well, Robin might answer that one for us. My head's gone a bit blank.
So is mine. So Renee, basically you're going to finish this piece off at home then?
Yes. Yep.
So how can people see the finish?
So I'll post some updates onto Creative Hub, and I'll also give you the link to my webpage, and we'll put something up on there too.
Perfect. Sounds perfect. And we'll get you in a few weeks once you've finished everything, and you can talk us through what you did as well, because I'm sure everyone will want to see how this one actually turns out.
Oh, thank you.
And goes together too.
Thank you. So we'll also quickly put some flowers onto this. I was going to show them how that porch will paint up as well over the resin beads.
So next week we've actually got Natalie from Bag End Studio.
Oh, very exciting.
We're going to talk about Mother's Day, and she's going to show us some of her beautiful artwork. So it is exciting. I'm really looking forward to chatting with Natalie again. And the last time we did something was a while ago, so it'd be nice to see her beautiful new creative space in Yirringapilly, see some of her gorgeous artwork, and have a chat to Natalie next week. And so if you would like to see Renee actually finish the birdhouse off, putting it together live, just let me know, and maybe in a few weeks, instead of seeing the finished piece, we could maybe see if she can do another little bit of instruction, and by that time you'll all have your kits and be caught up to this stage, and maybe, Renee, that might be a really nice way to go.
We can certainly do that, yes.
So let us know if you'd like to see it being finished off, and I know you've all loved what Renee's done with this, and we can organise that for you.
That sounds wonderful, Ash. No, very exciting. There we go. So we've painted that all up. So those just need to dry.
Carol's just saying, Renee, it's evaporative.
Oh, that's it, Carol. Oh, I could not think. Thank you so much.
We both had a mental blank, Renee.
Oh, we did. Now, what I'm doing here, I'm just coming across the porch, and remember these resin beads that I'd placed on? Now, they come self-adhesive. I use a tiny bit of glue at the same time to make sure that adhesive doesn't give way. And then I just come back over with the Powertex, and look at that.
Beautiful.
So, and then afterwards we will use our power colours to colour those up, and they will just look like some metal studs on the wall.
Robin's just saying, yes, please. She'd love to see you doing more on it.
I won't put it together then, Robin. We'll do it together. How does
Nice.
that sound?
Nice.
There we go. So that's that piece there. A bit hard in the bronze seeing it, but you can see that the Powertex has definitely given it a nice coverage. So it will work over your beads. There's not a problem there. So we'll leave that to dry as well, Ash.
Robin also had a suggestion for a band name, Renee.
Oh, what is it, Ashley?
I think it was Rashtax.
Oh, okay.
I think we could probably come up with something. I'm not sure about the rash.
No. Yes. Maybe my Wawa's not so bad. The Wawa girls. Wawa for WA.
It's funny though.
It is. It certainly is. Yeah. So
Nice. So basically, we're going to leave it there for today.
we can pop that around there if you want quickly. The mould around the front of the birdhouse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Did you want to do that quickly? And then yes, we'll leave the rest for the next time.
Nice. Sounds good.
So I have another mould. Like I said, Stamperia have the most gorgeous selection of moulds, papers and everything there. So, and it just dresses your Powertex mixed media pieces up. So the other mould I've brought along to share with you today is...
So like you said early on, Renee, is the great thing is that with any water-based mediums, you can use anything water-based with your Powertex. So that's where you can really mix it up and play with whatever you've got at home in your arty stash already, and actually just, combine both the Powertex and other mixed media art supplies.
Most definitely. Now, to show this up, I've got all my dark surfaces wet at the moment, so I don't know if that shows up well. Does that show? No, that doesn't show up well. Have we got another? I think that's all. So underneath there. So this is from one of their ranges, and this one is K3 PTA 4527, I think it is, 7 or 9. I might have rubbed it off a bit. 4529. And what I'm thinking about using is just the frame around this mould. Now, most people would go in and be happy to use the whole, but what I like doing with moulds is picking certain elements out of the moulds and using them because they're just so beautiful. And with using your air dry clays, you can then manipulate things and pop it around. So I was thinking on the birdhouse that whole pretty much matches up there with that mould. I don't know if you can see that terribly well. So what we'll do quickly, we'll do what we did, oil it up and then put a tiny bit of stone art clay and then pop that around the birdhouse. And yeah, that'll dress up the doorway for the bird. Who knew that the bird needed such pretty little details? But she does. There we go. So we'll just oil this quickly.
So, of course, if you're putting your piece outside, Renee, once you've finished the inside, it would be a good idea to give it a coat of finishing varnish, outdoor varnish,
Absolutely.
once it's dried off, so that that stone art is sealed really well for exterior.
Absolutely. It's gone cold a bit. Let's see how we go. So we did warm up our clay before the show, but while we've been here, it's hardened up a little bit. It's gone cold, and that's okay. Now, if you do find your stone art clay is a little bit cold and hard to touch, you can pop it in your microwave for 5 seconds, and that will make it nice and warm and pliable again. But we don't have the microwave in the room here, so we don't.
Just the heat of your hands is generally enough. You do it long enough.
So that's what we're trying to do at the moment, is just to soften that. And then we're going to pop it in and around this mould here. And I'm just going to pop it so it's in the frame, not around where the flower you saw was, and just manipulate that clay around. So again, these moulds, I know definitely Cobwebs Craft Studio that we said before, Ashley, and Bag End Studio have them all in stock. And you might find various other craft suppliers around too with them.
I'm sure Stamper's Hut would probably have them.
Yeah, Karen probably would too.
So she's on the Gold Coast as well.
Amanda of Mogos.
Yes, Amanda would have them. So that's in New South Wales, in Mogo.
Oh, it's very hard, Ash. So the other thing you can do with your clay is you could just come along and just pull it out just a tiny section even, and just use that, not use the whole round. You could just use a tiny section of it. You could pull out just the flowers if you wanted the flowers, or you can pour your resin in and use the whole disc shape as what it was designed for. But like I said, Ash, I like adding my interest in little elements this way.
Nice. And of course, this stone art has been sitting for a little while. So when you do store it, it's really important to wrap it in a damp chucks, pop some Glad wrap on it and have it in an airtight container. And it will last up to about 6 months, but you will find, you know, it does tend to be a little bit harder when it has been sitting for a while. And that's where the microwave tip comes in really well.
That's it.
It is chilly here today.
It is just a little bit.
Not used to the cooler weather.
No.
It's quite different. We've gone from being super hot to being chilly.
I know, no one's used to it now. We've gotten used to the warm weather, I think. It's the first time in a long time I've had, I think, the aircon running nearly the whole, up until I think last week I turned it off.
And now it's like, where's the heater?
That's it. There we go. And all I'm doing in the mould, I'm just pushing it back so that it's in the frame that I'd like. And you can see there. So I've just pulled that part of the frame out. Now, because that stone art clay is very hard at the moment, you can see when I was adding pieces in, it hasn't squished and gone together. That's fine, because we can put like a little flower embellishment over the top, because when it goes to dry, the stone art clay will shrink a little bit. So we can hide little defects like that. So a little flower.
It'll also look a bit more rusty.
Well, that's true too, yes.
So instead of attaching it on, you could also do your embellishment just off your piece, couldn't you, Renee?
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Then attach it so that you're not brushing onto that beautiful background that you've already created. Then you could go nuts with rust.
Oh, couldn't you what? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm just going to paint the back of this frame and get a good coverage of Powertex on there.
Just asking, if you put the clay in the microwave, does it give off any fumes? So it doesn't really, Robin, because it's in there for such a short time anyway. So like, you're not cooking it, you're just popping it in there for 5 seconds.
Just to warm it up. If you go any longer than the 5 seconds,
it'll cook.
Yes, yes, you really won't be able to use it. As I think the girls found out the other weekend when they were a class here, didn't they? Yes? No?
No.
Oh. There we go. So we've popped that down.
That looks fabulous.
So now the birdie has a little pretty entrance to come and go from.
Nice.
There we go. So that'll all be stuck in place.
That looks superb, Renee.
There we go. We'll hold that up. So I'll try and angle the light so you can see that a little bit.
Looks awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming in today and sharing more of your wonderful tips and tricks with us. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm sure everyone that's here appreciates what you've shown us today. And there's been certainly some gold in through the process. So if you haven't watched the whole thing, make sure you watch it back and get your kits and come and play along. And next time Renee's in, she'll show you a little bit more on how to progress it further. So get yours up to here, and then you can play along with Renee next time. So
sounds like a plan. Look forward to it. And thank you for watching today, and thanks for having me here, Ash.
Yes, it's been fun. I can't wait to have you back again. And
can't wait to see Natalie next week.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm also super excited to see your new website. So I'll be definitely checking that out and look forward to seeing a bit of a blog up as well.
Excellent.
All right. So thank you for joining us, everyone. As Renee said, from both of us, we will see you next week. And of course, next week I'll be talking with Natalie from Bag End Studio. So thank you, and ciao, everyone.